Today we're going to talk about Florida. You know, that place where everyone seems like their life is just an endless vacation. Going to Disney World, laying on the beach soaking up the sun, boating and water sports. Or at least that's what people think everyone in Florida's lives are like. But Florida isn't the perfect place for everyone. So let's take a look at 7 reasons why it might not be right for you. Of course, yes, we're going to talk about the weather. Many people think, wow, you are so lucky to have sunshine all year long and to not have to shovel 3 feet of snow off the driveway multiple times throughout the year. But then they go on vacation for 1 or 2 weeks to Florida and are literally dying, get sunburned, or even heat stroke. Florida is the hottest state in the U.S. with an average temperature of 71.5 degrees Fahrenheit, with Hawaii coming in second with an average of 70.2 degrees. And yes, 70 degrees sounds lovely, but that's just the average. During the summer it can be as high as 95 degrees, and that's not really the problem. It's the humidity. During the summer you can put on a fresh t-shirt and walk from your front door to your car, and you already need to change into a fresh one from the sweat. Florida is only the second most humid state, with surprisingly Alaska being the first. But you got a whole different set of issues up there. Now it is cooler in winter, spring, and fall, and for some this will be manageable. But for many, the sun beating down on you all year long will be too much. The heat and humidity can feel oppressive, especially in the summer months. Many of you enjoy putting on some boots and a jacket or a layer or two in the winter. This will not be the case in Florida. You will be in shorts and a t-shirt 90% of the year. And for those with certain types of hair, the weather will not be kind to you either. You will need special products to help with the frizz. Now, for many people, this will be the deal breaker. They hear the word hurricane and just say that is enough. But in Florida, there is so much more than just hurricanes to enjoy. They get tornadoes, tropical storms, thunderstorms, flooding, and even really crazy lightning strikes. Usually most of this happens from around the beginning of June till the end of November, but there can be storms in just about any month of the year, and when it rains in Florida, it really rains. Florida is around the 5th rainiest state in the country, with other states in the deep south being a little wetter. Florida is known as the lightning capital of the United States as well. So if you are one of those people who crawl under the covers in fear whenever you hear thunder and lightning, this is definitely not the place to be. Basically, if you see Jim Cantore on the TV in your area, make sure you are prepared for a storm or hurricane. A lot of coastal areas will be evacuated for hurricanes, but the majority of Floridians will only evacuate if the storm is Category 3 or higher, as that is around when the wind could rip your roof right off your house. But a lot of people just hunker down for anything less. Pretty much as soon as you hear there could be something coming your way, you need to hit the store and stock up. It can be a bit like COVID, where if you are too late, you'll get to the store and most of the shelves will be empty. Even gasoline can run out at the pump sometimes, so it is best to be prepared. Flooding. Obviously, with all the storms and the fact that most of Florida is very close to sea level, there's lots of flooding. The highest point is Britton Hill in Walton County at only 345 feet. Yes, 345 feet. Take Miami, for example. The average height about sea level is only 6 feet, with it even being as low as 3 feet near the coast. Flooding is a huge problem, and much of Florida sits on a limestone bedrock, which leads to another major problem: sinkholes. Yes, this is a major problem with thousands just appearing every year, some swallowing houses or even entire condo complexes. Now this doesn't kill lots of people every year, but just knowing that anywhere I live or work or go at any point in time could just cave in and swallow me and my family whole is just too much. It's kind of like living on a giant roulette board, and at any moment your number can be called. Cost of living has become a bit of a problem in recent years in Florida. Since the pandemic and the Great Relocation, many people decided if they could work from anywhere, why not somewhere there's sunshine year-round, right? Lots of higher-income workers packed up and moved to the Sunshine State, paying over the asking price from places like California and New York, causing the housing market to radically go up, compared to where it was just a few years ago. Just over 10 years ago, the average home value was only $144,464. Now you're thinking that's pretty cheap, correct? Well, in January 2020 it was around $250,000, and it keeps going up. In January 2021, it rose to over $300,000. In January 2022, it rose again to over $350,000. And finally, in January 2024, it's all the way up to just over $400,000. Now that is a huge increase in a short amount of time. In that same time period, Florida has easily had several 100,000 people move in each year, putting up housing prices, pricing many Floridians out of the market. This kind of growth is not sustainable. One other main driver of the cost of living going up is insurance. With the extreme weather and natural disasters, homeowners insurance is extremely expensive, as much as 4 times the U.S. average. This combined with a large number of roofing scams going on in the state, and several big companies pulling out of Florida completely after Hurricane Ian like AAA and Farmers Insurance, this is leaving people without a lot of choice. There is state-sponsored home insurance run by the state called Citizen that was only meant to be temporary to help people get coverage, but now 39% of people are using it, and it is not sustainable either. Unless you are maybe coming from somewhere like California, which is the only place in the country with more homeowners associations, then this is probably something you won't have considered. Around 45% of homes in Florida are part of an HOA, so I am pretty sure that most likely you will be moving into one or looking at homes that are part of one. The average price in Florida per month is around $380. That is a big extra cost on top of all your other bills. Now some people will see that their home is part of an HOA and say, oh perfect, this is a good thing. They will keep the neighborhood clean with landscapers and maintenance teams. There could be a shared clubhouse for members to use and even a community pool, sometimes even a gate at the entrance to the community with a security guard. All sounds pretty good, but there are negatives as well. Number one probably being that you need to get approval for many home renovations, and if they don't like your proposal you simply won't be allowed to do it. Many put limitations on what color you can paint your house, or even which roof tiles you can put on. They can be strict about parking your car on the street or where you park or how many cars you can have per household. Limits on garden decor or how many pets you can have, and weird rules about having to keep your driveway pressure washed. And if you don't follow these rules you can get big fines and nasty letters from the HOA. And the worst part of all of this is if you are really unlucky, you could be part of an HOA that is poorly managed, or even worse, one that's corrupt and not using the fees to maintain the community at all. It does happen. This one should be fairly obvious, but you'd be surprised by the number of people that just aren't used to the amount of wildlife that are in Florida that are not in their home state, like alligators, panthers, bears, coyotes, and many different kinds of snakes. Alligators are everywhere. They are literally all over the state. You can't just go out for a dip in many of the lakes and ponds, because guaranteed there will be some alligators in it. They will be on the golf course when you go out for a game, sometimes wander into the street where you are driving. They even make their way into your backyard or into your swimming pool. So you need to be aware and keep an eye out. There are quite a few different kinds of poisonous snakes to watch out for, like rattlesnakes and water moccasins. There's even anacondas in the wild now. Florida has a big exotic pet trade, and ever since a big hurricane hit in the 1990s, many snakes and pets got loose and are now living in the wild like the anaconda. Some as big as 30 feet long have been seen, and they can literally swallow an entire alligator whole. And that's just on land. In the water there are sharks and jellyfish and just too many things to list to look out for. Starting to see a picture here? But even worse for some people are the bugs. I don't mind all the animals. They are big, you can see them. It's really all the different bugs that would bother me. Live anywhere near the water and likely there will be lots of mosquitoes. Florida has more mosquitoes than any other state with around 80 different species. And they are around from spring through fall and even into winters some years. And some people find even worse is the no-see-ums. They bite harder and are tiny to where you can't even see them, hence the name. That's not all. If you don't like cockroaches, Florida has the palmetto bug, which is basically one huge flying roach. And yes, of course, they have poisonous spiders that will kill you also, like my personal favorite, the black widow, and also the brown recluse. But don't worry, I have just barely scratched the surface, but I assume for many that will be enough to convince them. Now if you are coming from up north, you will be used to soft water. Water you can fill a glass up out of the tap and just drink. Not in Florida. The water down there is very hard, and Florida has some of the worst water quality in the United States. The EPA and FDEP say that tap water is safe to drink, but I would not recommend it. If you want to drink the water, it is highly recommended you get filtration like a reverse osmosis system or something similar. You can use the water for showering, and many do, but for some this will make your skin feel very dry and require filtration. Also, the water can have a gross smell sometimes, kind of eggy, not taste very good, and will stain all of your glassware or cookware. This also means that many people will find the pizza and bread or bagels to be not as good as somewhere with better water. Another small and weird thing about the water in Florida is that due to the heat when taking a shower or running the tap, do not expect the water to ever get very cold. It just doesn't. Some people won't care. But for those of you wanting a cold blast of water before getting out of the shower, don't hold your breath. It's not gonna happen. Florida has a big problem with healthcare in recent years. They are the fourth most expensive state for health insurance, only behind Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Carolina. In 2021, they were ranked 41st for healthcare access. And on top of that, they have a huge physician shortage with not enough doctors and nurses. So unless you are moving here and need a job in healthcare, this is probably not ideal. Many people are just choosing to not get treatment because they can't afford it. They have one of the lowest percentage of insured adults and children in the country, and obviously with a high percentage of senior citizens, the demand is only going to grow. Many people report long waiting periods for treatment. If fast and good access to healthcare is a big requirement, then you will need to take a look and see if this will be a problem for you. So what are your thoughts on Florida? Paradise or not your cup of tea? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're curious about other retirement hotspots or global rankings, hit that subscribe button and join us for more insights. See you in the next adventure.